Pen fans, this is Brian at edisonpen.com. Hope everybody's doing well. Friday blog time. I wanted to do a quick video that would demonstrate bulb fillers and bulb filler maintenance. Every so often I get a question about bulb fillers, and it seems like over and over I answer the same questions over email, so I thought I'd put something out to show people how to fill bulb fillers, how to empty bulb fillers, general maintenance, and if you wanted to switch nibs on bulb fillers, then you'll know how with this video. You might hear some noise in the background. The machines are running. We're making pens right now, so please ignore that. I think you'll be able to hear me just well, but here we go. Okay, so here we have a Huron in Bedrock Flake acrylic. It's a bulb filler with a smoky ink window, and I'm going to show you how this pen fills. For the purposes of this demonstration, I have diluted some ink in water. I want people to be able to see how the pen expels bubbles, so rather than using an inkwell, I just grabbed a glass so that it was a bit more visible. So removing the blind cap reveals this bulb right here, and then to fill this pen, you need to make sure that the nib is submerged all the way up to the section. In other words, you know, if the nib is completely submerged, if the ink level isn't all the way up to where the section is slightly under the ink level, then you won't fill the pen. Essentially, you're just going to be pushing ink, and you're going to be pushing air and sucking air in through the feed. The nib has to be all the way down. So make sure that you put the nib all the way up past the section, and then start squeezing repeatedly. Usually the bulb fillers take about maybe 8 to 10 compressions or so. Make sure that you allow the bulb to completely inflate when you're doing this. Otherwise, you're not really maximizing each compression. And it takes a little bit to get past the lower level, but I think right about now you'll see the ink is starting to appear in the pen. And I wasn't counting. How many compressions was that? When the pen is completely full, well, first of all, you'll notice that right now, every time that I compress the bulb, you'll notice that bubbles come out of the ink. And when you are no longer seeing bubbles, that's when the pen is full. Essentially what happens is, when the pen is not full, you are exchanging air for ink. You're blowing air out the nib, and you're sucking ink back in. When the pen is completely full, that air is gone, and all that you're doing is recirculating the ink. So even if you don't have an ink window, you can tell when your pen is full, because you will no longer be expelling bubbles into the ink the way that I am right now. Okay? Now obviously I squeezed that a lot more than what I needed to just for the demonstration. Now to empty the pen, it's a little bit different. And what you want to do is, when you squeeze the bulb, you want to make sure that you're squeezing slowly and smoothly. If you squeeze the bulb quick, all that you're going to do is shove air out the pen and not remove any of the ink. So squeeze the bulb and you'll see ink leaves the pen. But what you want to do is make sure that you squeeze it very slowly and very smoothly. Like I said, if you just simply squeeze the bulb quick, then all that you do is blow air out. You don't get any of the ink. Keep doing that until you're no longer dripping ink out the nib, and then the pen is empty. Now, for most purposes, you'll never need to do anything else to this pen except for this right here. If you want to flush the pen, if you want to clean the pen, really all that you need to do is, take some clean water in a cup like this or in your sink or whatever. Fill the pen, empty the pen, fill the pen, empty the pen, until you are no longer expelling inky water. When you are expelling clear water, then you know that your pen is well flushed. Got it? So for the most part, that's all that you'll never ever need to do with these bulb fillers. But there are some exceptions. Some people like to tinker with their pens, and that's fine. Some people like to switch nibs, and that's fine as well. So let me show you kind of what goes into this as far as removing the section. Let's say you've got a stain inside the ink window. You know, I recommend gentle inks, but if you over time notice that there's some ink inside the ink window, it's actually very easy to take care of. This section right here unscrews. And you'll notice that there's the nib, the breather tube, and the section complete, or you know, disassembled from the pen itself. From there, you can take a cotton swab or a Q-tip and just get inside here and clean out the ink off the ink window. No problem at all. Okay. Now, whenever you do this, however, you realize that these section threads might need a little application of silicone grease. What seals this and what makes the ink sealed inside the pen is that grease. I make my section threads awfully precise and with a fine pitch to make sure that they don't leak ink, but I do feel good when people use a little bit of silicone grease. So again, you may never ever need to do this, but if you do, I always include a small tub of silicone grease with every bulb filler. This is mine. Obviously, you guys will never need this much. This would last anyone 3 lifetimes. I generally take a Q-tip or something similar and break it off, and then I will get my silicone grease on the edge of the Q-tip and apply it very, very lightly. You're going to find that a little bit of this stuff goes a very long way. Try and keep it off your fingers. It is pretty sticky. And once you've applied that to those threads, then you simply screw this back into the pen and you've got a good seal. It's possible that the silicone grease might squeeze out a little bit here on the threads. That's no problem. I usually just use my finger, wipe it off, and then just, you know, it is sticky, so get a paper towel and get rid of that. Now for people that like to switch nibs, basically it's the exact same thing, except the nibs unscrew. So in order to remove a nib, generally what I recommend, avoid touching the tines. So when I'm removing a nib, I'm going to grab the nib from the feed and on top here. Don't touch these tines. That's where you could have some problems by misaligning them or screwing them up or, you know, dropping it, whatever. Stay away from the tines all that you can. So essentially, you're just going to get in here and unscrew this. And you see that the nib pulls out, and there's the breather tube. Okay? If you do want to do this to switch nibs, then there's another spot that could use a little bit of silicone grease. And that is... Oh, let's see if I can focus here, sorry. That are these threads right here. Now there's something that is very important about this. When applying silicone grease here, make sure that you stay away from the back of the housing back here. Do not get grease back here where this breather tube is. You could have a clog, and then you're going to have, you know, you'll have zero feed, I should say zero flow, and you won't know why. So a little bit of silicone grease there. Put this back into the pen. Screw that back in, and you're ready to go. I think that covers all of it, really. When it comes to bulb fillers, it's a huge ink capacity, a pretty simple filling system. I personally like them a lot as far as, you know, having a huge ink capacity, but yet they're still pretty maintenance free, and it's very difficult for something to go wrong. You know, there really aren't any moving parts to malfunction. So hope you enjoyed this. Everybody have a good weekend.